Hello again there, friends and fans. Raptor here, and welcome back. It is good to see you returning to the front lines for yet another episode of Cards. Today I'm going to go over a few pieces of news, and then we're going to get right into the frontline battles of Cards very shortly. But first, I wanted to run through some information about the upcoming roadmap or upcoming changes to the game. If you haven't already played Cards, by the way, it is a free-to-play online World War II card game with really just minimal mess in terms of microtransactions and such. You can always buy some new cards if you want, or just find them by literally unlocking them by playing a ton of games. So it's really cool. In 2020, this game will be released on mobile phones. It has its full release February of next year. So I'm very excited to see it fully released and be completed, but of course will still be updated. And then also coming to mobile phones for free. Very cool. So there's already been some news around updates to 2 new allied nations coming through and 150 new cards. And this game, again, is easy to learn, difficult to master, and a lot of fun for anybody who really just wants to play card games. I go back to the reference of me saying that I really couldn't learn Hearthstone, and I don't really know much about Magic the Gathering, but knowing that a Flak 88 could take out an aircraft from across the map is something I do know, and so it's helped me to be a better player in Cards. A lovely community with a really just fantastic development staff who really listens to their community too. A lot of cool stuff coming, including localization for other languages, and also 128 players in the World Championship. A really nice community, and I think, again, you should check it out if you haven't already. So thanks to the developers of Cards to sponsor today's video and bring me back in for more. We're going to get into showing off a few decks then very soon of both kind of a beginner nature and more of an advanced nature, and in the meantime, you can read everything coming up here. There's lots of stuff coming up, a lot of little things that are going to make the difference here in Cards being, I think, ultra exciting. Hey, that's all it takes in war, right? A lot of little differences, and suddenly the front turns for the better. All right, well, let's get into the game. I'm going to show you some decks that I've made, and then we're going to play them and see how they go. I'll kind of cover the battle post-battle just to make sure that I can win a couple of here. The community at this late at night is pretty aggressive, so there's some real good pro players who are on all the time. So anyway, go ahead and read the roadmap update. I'll go ahead and leave a link down below in the description, as well as a link to this game as well. And if you want to play it again, the whopping price of free. Yeah, there's some microtransactions in the game in order to unlock some cards early, but it's not something that you can't access by just simply playing the game. All right, let's get into Cards now and see what's new. Looks like I got some more daily missions to complete too. Complete any of these objectives and you earn some extra gold, and I think every 10 gold you can actually get cards for free and then unlock them, and if you get duplicates you can just use them to multiply cards or get even better cards, which is pretty cool. Let's go right into our card shop, I guess, or my storage of cards. You start with a lot of starter packs too, so if you don't know much about the game, you can literally just start playing right now. And then play against the AI to kind of learn how to play, and then eventually start playing against players. And these starter decks are actually pretty good. I think you could still beat some regular players with starter decks. Probably a little unlikely if you're playing against an elite player, but there you go. I have 2 decks that I've pre-made now for today's episode. D-Day 1944, featuring a combination of British and American forces, and then also the Germany-Japan Elite, taking in some very elite cards and some late-level stuff that you might see if you start really getting into the game. So let's go ahead and take a look at the entry-level deck, and then we'll see how it all plays out there. Lots of great cards here. The United States really, in this game, specializes, I guess as they did in World War II, by really trying to supply the front lines as best as possible. You can see here that a lot of their units, for example, help to buff whatever's on the front line and go on the attack. And the British, on the other hand, are more about defending. You can kind of see some of their abilities here, such as +2 defense or +2 defense to HQ, and then also eliminate enemy aircraft, that type of thing. So the Brits are all about defense, the Americans are all about attack, and then buffing up forces for the final attack. So you really got to get your forces out on the front line and then essentially get ready to wall up the enemy with one big punch. Once it's like a spring, once it's fully loaded, you can release everything into the enemy's base and pretty much clear them out. But if it happens to turn to the other cheek and you start to lose the battle, you can then reinforce with the British and start knocking them down. So as you can see, there's a lot of things you might be familiar with from Men of War Assault Squad or from War Thunder, especially tank-wise and aircraft-wise, but also artillery that can reach out and hit the enemy too. So there's a lot to learn in this game, but it's not really difficult to master. Again, I really wanted to get into games like Hearthstone and Magic the Gathering, but the subject matter was just not interesting to me, though these types of cards and these types of battles are really interesting to me, and it's really satisfying not only to win a battle, but when you know you got the enemy cornered and they surrender, there's something about like, yeah, I got inside your mind, buddy. And I've had it happen to me too, so it's a street that goes both ways, I suppose. Lots of cards that are unlockable. Some of the cards here you can see that are a little bit more elite, such as the M16 half-track. I believe those are limited cards, but then basic cards like the Steward that are standard as well. So lots of different things to earn, including some very high-level elite cards that are like super, super rare. I think I might have one for the Americans here. There it is. The M26 Pershing, big boy, costs 10 points to come out, but considered to be heavy armor, so it can really do some damage against enemy units. It says unit receives 2 less damage when attacked by other units. That's amazing. She's a big, that's a big lady. You don't want to make her mad. All right, well, let's get into the battle then and see how this deck does. Again, a lot of the stuff on the top that you've seen are not going to be in this battle. It's everything at the bottom. And though it might not be available in 1944, maybe it was used in 45, we're going to see how it goes for the Americans here on D-Day. Let's go. All right, we got into our first game then. I've pre-recorded this one and gave me a little bit of time to think. We're against Ghost Gamer now, who's going as a Soviet deck that should be defending the capital quite a bit of Stalingrad there, or at least his main card. We've gotten some pretty good low-level cards, low-price cards to start the battle with, which is very important, so that way we can take the front line and also really capture as much territory and deny the enemy the ability to attack. He's going to beef up immediately with what I find to be the most annoying and frustrating part of the game, but it's all part of the game, is using guard units. I hate that. I could never use that. You can definitely fort down, but this is going to be quite an interesting battle with him doing that. So, quote-unquote D-Day, I guess, around here at Stalingrad. We put down an M8 Greyhound and also that artillery piece that should give us a bonus when we're, I think, on the front lines of battle here. He's called out War Machine, which will give him extra credit slots for the next time. And we have an artillery piece that will be able to strike either Stalingrad or that card across the map. I think, actually, we have to attack the Soviet troops first because they are in guard mode. They have to be attacked first no matter what, unless we have some sort of card that specifically states that it can attack the main base. Alright, so he's immediately called out infantry and tanks, and he's buffing up his forces for a big attack. We have U.S. Marines here that have a 5-5, and we're going to boost those with what I mentioned earlier, kind of the Americans' ability to buff and supply units on the front line. So now we've got a 6-6, which is going to be a hell of a lot of power to use here, and I'm debating using For the King to destroy that BT-7, which has a 2 attack and 2 defense. The symbol on the left is the ability for that unit to attack, and on the right is its ability to defend. And so once those points are exhausted, unless there's a card to replenish that, it is goodbye to that one. Though cards can equal out and kind of sacrifice each other. If, for example, you attack a unit that's 5-5 with another unit that's 5-5, you can do that. In this case, he's taken a 5-5 and turned it to a 6-6 with the same plan that we had, giving it that USA support. So he's actually being supported, as the Soviets did in World War II, by America as well. So interesting. Both kind of somewhat realistic historical decks. 506 Airborne with a 2-2 there, supported by the Greyhound. And we're going to artillery something with... The good thing about artillery, too, by the way, is it can damage without taking damage itself. And I've noticed, too, after this gameplay that I didn't make all the correct moves that I should have. You should be moving the M8 Greyhound to certain positions in order to buff attacks or buff defense, and that's just something I need to buff out, I suppose, myself with just practice. We'll eventually take damage there with the Marines, too. Right now, he's locked down Stalingrad. There's no way we can attack it without clearing out those tanks. Actually, in this case, he has... there it goes. Yeah, so that unit there that he just called out now has the ability to lock down Stalingrad and wiping out the Marines, but goodbye to a T-34. And he's also called out a Greyhound as well. So look at that. He's just knocking out units left and right like that. That is crazy. We now are going to buff... I tried to buff an artillery piece there to see if I could get to attack more, but it actually specifically states that only infantry and tanks can be buffed. So we're going to go for buffing the infantry there. The M8 Greyhound's going to support them and giving them a boost too. And also, we're going to call out the medics soon enough in order to give all units a buff. I think I should have used that medic unit first, too, to give everything a buff before using the artillery. But again, that's practice will make perfect in this game. And keep in mind that that Keep Calm and Carry On card only applies to British units, so I can't give all of those units a buff unless they're of British origin. So we might be able to see, for example, maybe a British M4 Sherman, but for the most part, the Brits have their own vehicles that weren't used by the... or made by the Americans. So now we've got pretty much enemy at the gate situation. He's really weakened with the 1-1 and 1-2 infantry / Greyhound. And if he would have put that guard unit next to Stalingrad, it'd be defending the capital. Now we're going to buff again, and I think is where we're going to really get inside of his mind and make it a GG with this shipment of a 2-2 or 1-1. making it a 6-7, and we can just attack Stalingrad all day now. And I think he doesn't have any other cards to stop that, so those damn infantry are super powerful. And the enemy surrendered. That's when you get really into their mind. So let's go on to the next battle then. First, we're going to take a look at some additional higher level cards and see how things go from here. But a good battle. I've certainly been on the other end of that many times, so it's nice to kind of have the table turn once here. And, ooh, look at that. We get to collect some extra gold. Delicious. All right, let's check out some new cards. Fantastic. We won that one, and things went really well. Got inside his mind and did some really good damage there against the enemy forces, and then basically made him quit. He knew that we knew that he was up against the wall, so pretty satisfying. We got a lot of elite cards here to show off too. You'll see in the next round, when we get into the elite battles, this card is going to make a big difference too, the Nakshub, which essentially means that so long as this card is on the battlefield and you destroy an enemy unit, you gain 2 credits every time you destroy enemy units. So the more aggressive you are, it basically is a feedback loop of just more and more aggression. So the Germans are very good at attacking, though it can all go to hell for them, just like it did at Stalingrad if they don't kind of keep things supplied and keep up the pressure. One of the things that I really want to mention with these cards too is the art style of all these are just fantastic. It's either from World War II or from model kits that they've gotten approval from, or just like public works of art or whatnot. Really, really cool stuff. And I really want to play this game more in order to unlock some more cards, like the 15-centimeter autocannon. Really good stuff there that can do 3-2. And it says when you deploy a unit, deal 2 damage to the enemy HQ. So once you put this card out, look at that really sneaky attack. That fine print right there is where all the damage is, just like in a regular contract. So if you think about it, every time you put out a unit with this cannon out, you're doing damage to the enemy. So long as you're still attacking, even if you're not able to really break through the defenses like the enemy guard, the 15-centimeter autocannon, especially for those Soviets, can at least still do some damage. Very cool. Big cannons, a lot of other elite stuff like the 1st Air Landing Brigade. And one of my favorite cards in here that I just want to show off that I did last time, if I can find it, I think is a 6-pointer. Let's go ahead and see if we can find that one. These aren't all the cards available in the game, but it is really cool. Yeah, the Comet. Very nice. This card essentially can be called out, attack an enemy unit, and then be called back into your hand and won't be destroyed so long as you can hit and run. Really cool stuff. Really provides a lot of interesting tactics in the game. And the Brits and the Soviets are probably the most pain in the neck for me, as they have a lot of good defensive units. The Soviets use guard, which means that you have to attack and destroy that unit before you can attack. And the British can just buff up HQ day after day after day. Again, there's our big boy, the M26 Pershing, and then of course another limited unit, though not elite, the 9.2 7 credit coastal gun. So yeah, look at that. Look at that. Each time it attacks, your HQ gets stronger and stronger. Like wow, what a absolute machine. That's crazy. All right, well, let's see some of these cards in action now. Again, this is not all the cards available in the game, but let's see what happens when we go in now with the German Elite deck. This one's going to be mixed up with a couple of other things here. If we take a look at the German-Japan Elite, the thing that might turn the tide of battle here is probably going to be the fact that we've got a lot of cheap infantry, but also maybe that Comet. I always hope that that's going to be the game winner, but maybe not. Also, a very good unit here, the Panzer IV F.2, which basically, when you deploy it, tells the enemy that they have to take back a card, and you can, I think, pick which one you want them to pull back, and it really helps your attack, too. All right, let's get into a next battle and see how we do. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba, McDonald's, y'all. And this battle, this time around now, the Japanese and the Germans being combined into a just unstoppable force. A really good combo of Japanese units that are super, super aggressive. They make the Germans look ridiculous. The Japanese are all about attack and attacking twice. They might not have a lot of power, but I guess through the power of the Emperor comes all that extra boost from those units. 158th Nakshub is going to be absolutely phenomenal this time around. It has no ability to attack, but it does have defense, and it can't really be attacked unless it moves itself, or is, attacks, which it can't because it's a 0-0. But anyway, that is going to give us some more points to attack with later on here. Enemy already taking the front line, and we've got access to the Comet. That is going to be a godsend here towards the end. Japanese units with Fury, which I believe means that they can attack twice per turn, which is pretty useful so long as they don't happen to explode. So they're pretty good at clearing out low-level units, and we're going to try to attack immediately with the tanks here and clear the front line. pushing out those Japanese infantry and allowing us to now capture the front line ourselves. No points remaining, just checking to see if we can move any units, but doesn't look like we can now. So over to the enemy. A lot of cards in his hand there. Looks like he's got quite a bit of cards to deal with. I've only got 2 now. Most of mine are on the field. You can again read what the Nakshub does, and it's going to be quite a phenomenal unit here. I think we've already gained some extra points because of that, or we will by destroying some extra units here. But a good unit to have out. The developers made me aware of that card, and there is a very good Discord and also community that will just help you to make the ultimate decks. They want to see people become more skilled, so that way there's more challenge in the game. So that's, you know, obviously well welcome, just like it is in War Thunder and Men of War and all the other games that we've played time and time again. It's fun when you got some competition to fight against. This time, it looks like the competition is nowhere to be found. The enemy is kind of up against the wall. He's got just 1 infantry regiment there, the Me Too regiment, that has a 2-3, and if destroyed, I think there's a bonus to where they cause damage to possibly our HQ. We're buffing the front line now with the German engineers there. I believe that buffs all the units on the front line. So we're going to just start hitting face, as they say, calling all of our units out to attack the Japanese occupied capital of Manchuria, I believe. I don't think it's Manchuria, but somewhere in China, being occupied by Japanese troops is the capital that we're assaulting. Doesn't really matter, but it's just kind of a fun thing to know that it's, you know, an actual location. So now the enemy has been buffed by that armored car. I love the amount of just mind-boggling buffing and crosswork and, like, you know, this does that is so awesome to learn. Like, when you find out a card can, like, be buffed because, you know, you put out some other card, it's really exciting. Now, we lost our buff there by him destroying that armored car. We now lost a buff, I believe, in defense for those units, and even if it was an attack or defense lost, it still is a major loss when you lose a little bit of a buff across a few units like that. But we've really weakened the enemy again, moving all of our units up to ensure that we've got a front line behind us to put our aircraft and artillery where they need to be. I'm kind of clearing the map so that way we can continue to attack. And I'm, like, losing I have so many cards now. This is not typical for how it goes for me, that, you know, I'm just making doubly sure that we've got all the units on the front line, or that we've already moved them. I don't want to waste any turns or anything like that. But there you go. Now we've got the enemy down to about, what, 9 points. Now, with the final attack there from the Japanese infantry. Keep an eye on that comet down there. That's going to change all the game to something different here. It's going to make all the difference in this battle. Now, not that it's not going our way, but there is quite a few enemy units out there now. 4 attack and 3 defense on the card on the left, and same with the one over there just next to the armored car, wiping a German unit there. Another, or at least on our side's unit. We've got a lot of light armor, a lot of light infantry, but again, we're kind of plopped down in the enemy's way, and they're losing units left and right. Like I mentioned, the Japanese, pretty good attack, but not very good defense. They don't really care too much about losing manpower. They just want to attack, attack, attack. Tora, 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 which I believe is also a card as well. All right, the 38T being called out here, so that way I can call out another card. Very important here, so I'm going to go ahead and make the decision to draw that out. And now we have access to a Stug 4, which can attack twice in a turn, and also does double damage against enemy tanks. So it's got a real good ability to be able to clear everything out. And that's going to be, I guess, a good card if we do see enemy tanks, but unfortunately I don't think we will. Knocking the enemy down to 8 points and trying to push ahead with some other units in the next turn, I think, will be the goal. The enemy does have a 4 card there, which they could use to clear anything on the front line and get a little bit of a bonus, possibly attack our capital of Tripoli. But right now the enemy's probably going to have to try to make the best of the situation in defending the capital of theirs. Oh, interesting. +5 now for that Panzer III being called out and attacking our infantry, knocking it down to 5-3. And with many cards remaining on our side, I don't know if he's going to be able to punch through all of our defenses before we get a chance to call out the Comet. I don't know if there's going to be Cupid, or Blitzer, Donner, or Rudolph themselves, but at least the Comet should do well against that. Down to 18 points at our capital by destroying that enemy infantry. He attacked us, so kind of forced our hand in destroying that unit in return. More Pioneers, which we can call out in order to buff that unit on the front line. But before I do that, I've learned my lesson. I know that if I want to get that buff, I need to move units forward. So I'm going to go ahead and start doing that, and then I figured out to use the buff. Again, practice will make perfect. And there we go. Now we've got the enemy down to 3, and then we'll have them down to 4, and then we can make our kill move here, which I think I'm going to delay till the next turn. with calling. I could have probably done it there to call out the comet and make it happen, but sometimes you got to go for, you know, style points or something. Plus, since you're playing the game to achieve specific goals, it is important to do as much damage as possible. You might change your play style in order to get some of that free gold. So if you're, you know, if you're going for the face all the time just to win games, that's great. But destroying enemy cards and then ending up losing, but still walking away with gold, can be a victory too on the back end. The enemy just might not know about it. Wow, Panzer IV, or rather Stug 4, destroyed there, and also the 38T being wiped. And now he's starting to really gain some momentum, clearing out that front line, and has a very powerful unit out here now. But we're going to go ahead and finish up the game, I think, by calling out our Comet and making everythking hell for him. That unit, again, can do hit-and-run tactics, marking the GG. That's how I know I actually won one. And there we go. Goodbye to Nanking or Beijing or Tokyo, whatever, wherever it is. A good victory. A nice guy to fight against, too. He held out towards the end and made it a little bit more exciting. So 3 victories for us. All right, everyone, that's all I have for you for today for Cards. So thanks again for tuning in. And I know this isn't everybody's cup of tea, these types of turn-based card games, but it's really starting to make me appreciate other types of games that are related to World War II that necessarily aren't first-person shooters or just, you know, top-down RTS games. Cards has really made me think about playing a lot of other games too, including Hearts of Iron, which incorporates a lot of different things, including, you know, buffing units and making them move faster and hit harder and that type of thing. So Cards has taught me a lot about different types of strategies, really trying to get inside someone's mind, more of a chess move than it is just to destroy a vehicle. Men of War Assault Squad or War Thunder is all about killing the big tank or something to change the battle, but Cards can sometimes be just about hitting face and then pulling back and just being all sorts of levels of sneaky. So again, keep in mind that the game will have some additional units to play here very soon. There's some more stuff coming down the pipe, and we'll learn what that is very soon. More nations to play as, 150 new cards to play with, and free. There's really no reason not to support free. I like that a lot. So thanks to the devs for showing us some love. I hope you guys enjoyed the game and download it soon. So I have some more people to play with at night. Secretly, I've actually been practicing because I don't want to suck so bad. I'm still not a great player, but I have a great time. And maybe that's what makes all the difference. All right, everyone, thanks for tuning in and joining me for some more cards. I'll be back next time with yet another deck. Thanks to the devs for giving ideas, too, on what to do this time around. A good deck and also a new deck. And I think that is really cool. I think I'm more comfortable with the new decks. But when you get up into those high tiers, man, I'm sure you're going to be great at this game. Me? We'll see. All right, guys, take care. I'll see you soon. Thanks for dropping by. And download Cards today in the description. Check out that roadmap and more down below. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.